Hi folks, Ryan here. This is the second video in my How to Brew series. Today we're going to do a recipe kit that brews with extract, hops, and specialty grains. This will be a little different from the last video where we used a pre-hopped extract. All the extract in this is unhopped. So before we get started, please like and subscribe. And if you want to know when I have new videos, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button as well. So let's get started. This is from a company known as Brewer's Best. We got a lot of stickers from Amazon because I ordered off Amazon. This is the Blueberry Honey Ale. And I picked this recipe specifically because it has a lot of extra stuff in it. And I wanted to show you how when you get to this level of brewing, it's fairly customizable. Also, I chose this kit because I think Brewer's Best is fairly accessible in the US. So if you have a local homebrew shop, there's a good chance they'll have this. I know some shops are moving to another brand or they're making their own, but I used to see this around a lot. So I'm hoping that if you like this or want to try this, that you're able to get it too. But Brewer's Best makes a whole bunch of different recipes. So I've never brewed this one before. So let's just go through the what comes in the box and then we'll get started. First, you get a nice set of instructions which pretty much walks you through the whole process. So even if you're brand new and you don't remember what I said in this video, you know, this will put you on the right path. The only thing I disagree with on their instructions here is it tells you that you're going to need a 4-gallon brew pot. While you technically could brew this with a 4-gallon, get yourself a 5-gallon. It will help protect you against any boilovers. And with extract brewing, we're going to do a boil, so you really want extra headspace if you can get it. And 5 gallons is kind of sweet spot for these boils. So, what we got here? We have 3 pounds of Golden Light DME, also known as dried malt extract. We have another pound of it here. This is the Golden Light, which the grains that it comes from, it's about 99% base malt, which is 2-row, which is kind of the malt that you actually get all the sugars from. Well, they went and got the sugars for us. And 1% of its carapils, which is a specialty grain, which is a kind of grain that doesn't really give a lot of sugars off, but it can do things like flavoring and add body. In this case, carapils adds a little bit of body, but with it only being 1%, I don't really think it makes much of a difference. Also, we have 2 ounces of Cascade hops. Actually, this one didn't come with the 2nd ounce, so I went and bought another one. I'll go grab it. They have different alpha acids, which affects the level of bitterness that they can give off. And the one that came with it was higher than the one I was able to get. So I don't really know which one's going to go in first in the recipe, but I'll probably decide on the fly. Also, we have some specialty grains. These are crushed honey malt and some crushed carapils. So they're adding more carapils to give this beer a little more body. It's 4 ounces of carapils and 6 ounces of crushed honey. Also, they're bringing in another fermentable. As you can probably tell in the name of the beer, the Blueberry Honey Ale, we're actually going to put honey in this beer. This is not a normal ingredient in beer. There are recipes that call for it, but it's not like a majority of beers have honey. It's just another example of how you can make beer your own by using different adjuncts and sugars to you know, make the beer the way you want it. I have brewed with honey before, but it gives a certain sweetness to the end. It doesn't taste like honey when it's fermented, but it does give a little sweetness, and I think it kind of does something to the body of the beer a little bit. Also, we're going to use a blueberry extract. I believe this will go in when we bottle. Well, I'm actually going to put mine in a keg, so I'll dump probably most, if not all of this, in the keg to get that blueberry flavor. Also, we have some Windsor yeast. Now this yeast is a very vigorous English ale yeast. It ferments hard. I'm actually a little worried about doing this beer because of this yeast, because when you mix, I know for a fact if you mix this with honey, this will probably end up blowing out of our fermenter, which is fine. I know how to deal with it, and I will probably tell you how to deal with it. You may even be able to go on YouTube and find other videos on how to deal with it, but I got a little trick up my sleeve, and I will let you know if that happens. If you are a person who's going to be bottling, which most beginner home brewers are, they do give you 60 bottle caps. These are just silver bottle caps, which is nice if you are bottling. And 5 ounces of priming sugar. This helps you carbonate your beer in the bottle. You'll mix this in with some boiling water right before you bottle, and then mix it with your fermented beer. And then when you fill the bottles, you let them sit for 2 weeks and they carbonate. Since I am not bottling and I'm kegging, which gets its carbonation from a tank of CO2 gas that I have, I'm actually just going to throw this in the boil. It won't hurt anything. It's not really going to boost the alcohol or anything. It's just, I don't have to waste it then. And last, we have everybody calls it a muslin bag. I know there's a lot of people say it's not technically muslin, but this is for your steeping grains. And we'll go into how to do that. So that's the beer kit so far. Let's get started. Make sure that you have like the 5-gallon pot, like I said. If all you want to use is the 4-gallon, you can, but you'll be better off 5. I'm gonna do it on an induction cooktop. You can do it on a stove. Electric stoves are fine. Gas stoves are great. If you have a ceramic top like I have, I've never actually tried boiling this amount of water that we're gonna boil today on it. So my dad did once on his, and he had some trouble. If that happens, where you can't get it up to a boil, get the lid, which you do not want to use during the boil with it completely on, but you can put it on a little bit to let out some of the steam and other byproducts of that boil, and that should help you get up to a decent boil. All right, let's get started. I have my Star San, my bucket of Star San, which is a sanitizer. If you didn't watch the last episode, I have this is going to be the fermenter we're going to use. This is a Fermonster. Has a little bit wider mouth on it. I would have used my bucket, but I don't have the bucket available because it's still being used by the last beer I brewed. Okay. So here we go. All right, first thing we're going to do, we are going to get 2.5 gallons of water and put in our pot. I'm going to get rid of this lid because I don't need it right now. Also, one thing I forgot to mention you'll need is, actually a couple of things. Thermometer. Make sure you have a decent thermometer so that you know how warm your water is when you go to steep your grains. Also, get at least a 20-pound bag of ice, or if you have a wort chiller, which I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you probably don't. You'll need some way to cool down your wort. At least 20 pounds of ice. I got 40 just to play it safe. You'll see how we'll use that later because I'm going to use that ice. So. Alright, I got my water in here. It's getting warmed up. It's still pretty low, obviously, since I just put it in there. Let's get our grains ready. Okay, let's get our grains ready while the water is warming up. I'm going to tell you a little trick that I do for steeping grains as well. First, get your muslin bag that came with the recipe if you have one. If you're going to make your own custom recipe, I don't recommend doing that the first time because you may not want to brew again if it comes out bad. Brew a couple kits like this. And you don't have to get Brewer's Best. Get whoever's available in your area, who's available online. I started off with Northern Brewer, honestly, so they make fantastic kits as well. And Northern Brewer, among other places, has whole starter kits where you can get pretty much everything you need. Comes with a fermenter, bottling bucket. Oh, what else? You can come with a recipe kit. I think you get to choose between 3 recipes. I think the only thing you have to get is a pot, and I bought a spoon, and these metal spoons are nice for this. So, we have a lot of options for getting your equipment. And I think even some places have literally everything you need. They're more expensive, but they come with the pot. They might even come with the chiller and all that. It's just, look around, morebeer.com, homebrewing.org, all great companies. So, all right, so we're gonna put our grain. I set the sock into the box when I'm gonna put my specialty grains in there. So that's a good way, because I'm gonna throw the box away, so I don't really need to keep it around. And these grain, when they're nice long grain socks, it's very helpful. I've had some recipes that came with a really dinky short one, and I'll show you why this is handy to have a really long grain sock here. So the instructions that come with the Brewer's Best Kit tell you to go to, I believe, it's 150 degrees, somewhere between 150 and 165, and let the grains just steep there for 20 minutes. What I have done, and Northern Brewers recipes tell you to do this, or at least they used to, is while the water's warming up, I will put the grains in and either let them sit there for 20 minutes while it warms up, or let them sit there until the water hits 170, whichever one happens first. So I'm gonna just throw these in there now, and then we're gonna just move the camera into an angle where you can see the brew pot. So we're at 98 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Let's just move this over here. And you see how it's really long? Put it in there, let it sink in there a little bit, and then tie it to the side so it doesn't touch the bottom. Then you don't have to worry about it burning. What am I doing here? There we go. Now relearn how to tie a knot apparently. So there we go. So now it's there. Oop. Make sure it's tight. That is not that tight. Just pull that through a little more. There we go. That's perfect. So I'm gonna set a timer for 20 minutes. And if it hits 170 before that 20 minutes is up, I'll take the grains out. We're at 100 now. It doesn't, they'll be in there long enough. You're gonna get all the flavors out of that you need, so shouldn't be any problem. All right, we're about a minute and a half left in our steeping. Temperature's at 153 now. Let's just take a look at it. Look how nice this looks. It looks like honey, honestly, doesn't it? Color-wise, you know, obviously it's a lot runnier, but look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And I wish you guys were here to smell this. It smells wonderful. I love the smell of grains, especially when they're in water like this. There aren't really any fermentables that came out of these grains. You know, we didn't mash them at all. It's just the color and flavor that we're going to get off of this. Okay, we're officially at a boil now. I'm going to just leave the thermometer here because we'll need just a minute. So, unlike other honey beers that I've done, where usually they have the honey going like the last 10 minutes or so, this recipe actually calls for it to be boiled as well with everything else for the whole boil. So, we're going to start putting our DME in. I'm going to shut the burner off because as we're doing this, it's going to try to boil over, and I don't want that to happen. So let me just get this open, and then I'll shut that burner off. We will lose some temperature, so then when we turn it back on, we'll have to bring it back to a boil. But I'm going to do the DME first, just so it can dissolve, and we don't have a honey that's, doesn't really need to dissolve in here. Oops, forgot to shut it off. Actually, since I'm on my induction cooktop, I'll just turn it down just to kind of keep some temp in here. There we go. Now, if you're doing this on the stove, absolutely shut the burner off, because this malt extract will burn on the bottom of your pot. I'm just not really too worried about it on the induction cooktop. Oops. A little more time than I wanted. I'm a little impatient. Probably should do this slower, but I hate waiting for the stuff to slowly come out. Also, steam really affects the DME when it comes out of the bag. You can see it gets really sticky. Alright, so there's our 3 pounds DME. Also, I put the honey in a hot water bath to hopefully help it get a little runnier. Okay. Let's turn this up a couple notches. Fourth pound. Oh, super sticky. Make sure this is stirred up nice. Alright, now for the honey. This is just, well, Brewer's Best. It's branded honey. It's pure wildflower honey. It's a lot like what you can get at the store. And I've ordered from like Northern Brewer. You pretty much have to put it in hot water because it's kind of crystallized and everything you get it. And I don't know if it's just a fresher honey or what. But taking the cap completely off, I'm not going to try to squirt it out through a little hole in the top of the lid. So here we go. Alright, so it'll take a bit to get back up to temp. Alright, we're getting back to a boil here. It took a few minutes. I'm actually really surprised right now because normally this is where the boil over is going to start. And it doesn't seem to be... Oh, there it goes. So it's going to close up. If you were on a stove top, like an electric stove top, you'd want to pick up off the element. On an induction cooktop, you can just turn the power down a notch. You know, if it doesn't go down, turn it down another notch. And you can stir. Stirring helps a lot too. Sometimes stirring doesn't help enough, so turning the power down on an induction top is pretty good. And if you're on like a propane burner, turn it down. Like, look at this. So see that foam line's going up to the 4 gallon mark. You actually can't see that mark, but I'm going to turn down to 7 now. There's a lot of malt in here, and this is called the hot break. When we get through it, oh shoot, like I can't see the readings now either. Oh, we're going back up, so now we're going to go down even further. Stirring like crazy here. I've heard some people using spray bottles too. I've never really done that. I think they just spray water in there to pop the bubbles or something. So, with all this malt that's in here, it's hot break because magnify it as a bit. All right, it's calming down. We still have a boil. We're at half the power we were when we were trying to get to a boil right now. And there we go. Look at that. So you won't really have any issues with this again, unless you add more sugar, which we're not going to at this point. Some people say that when they start adding hops, they get it. I have never experienced that. It's usually just the initial malt add or any additional malt add. Also, I know I said I was going to add the sugar in there, and I kind of forgot to do that. So let's do that real quick. Just so it's done, and if there's another hot break, we can get through it. Also, you don't have to do this. If you're bottling, do not do this step, but I'm just doing it to not waste the sugar. Now that cut the boil again, so I'm going to turn it back up a notch, see if we can get it going. Yeah, it'll bubble again here in a minute. We're at 211 and a half, so oh, we're actually 211.8, so it should be boiling right now, but for some reason it's calmed down a lot. I can smell that honey though. Okay, I'm interested to see what happens boiling that honey for the whole 60-minute boil. All right, so our two hop additions, while we're waiting for that to come, our two hop additions, one's going to go in right at the beginning, and I'm going to do the 7.7%, and I'm just going to dump these in. It says there's 1 ounce in here, and there's probably a little more. I don't care. I don't like to waste hops, so I'm going to use them. And then we're going to boil for 40 minutes, and we'll add the other cascade. And this first cascade addition, I don't know why I'm grabbing the different pouches to show you this. This first addition will be for bittering. So it won't really add a lot of flavor, but it's where you're going to get your bitterness from. This next one, since it goes in about 20 minutes before the end of the boil, this will be a flavoring hop. You get a lot of your flavor from here. With the other stuff that's going into this beer, you won't consider this a hoppy beer by any means, but this will kind of accent the flavor a little bit. Probably what I expect is you're going to taste that weird sweetness I was telling you about from the honey and our blueberry extract, which here's a closer view of that. Brewer's Best makes several of these extracts. I have literally never used one of these before, so this is the first time. So, once we get it back up to the boil, I'm going to set a timer for 60 minutes and a timer for 40 minutes. And we'll go from there. Okay, first hop addition, Cascade 7.7%. Had both hop additions actually come in this kit, they probably both would have been 7.7. These are not easy to open. Just cut them open, I guess. Just throw them on in. All right, we'll be back in 40 minutes with our second hop addition. All right, we are about 30 seconds away from our next hop addition, which, just to remind you, is our lower alpha acid Cascade that I had to go buy. I got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know what? And when you dump these in, you don't even have to stir them. Now we have about 20 minutes left in the boil. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to add something else to this. It's called a whirl flock. They're little tablets that help kind of clear the beer a little bit. It works by trying to pull the proteins out of the beer. And why you'd want to do that is not only for clarity, but it helps the beer last a little longer too. And you don't have to do this at all. You can use other agents such as Irish moss, which I think Whirlfloc is pretty much made of that. But you don't have to do it at all. If you think you're going to drink this really fast, I just do it because I've always done it. So it's definitely optional. Okay, here is the Whirlfloc tablet I mentioned before. We're just past the 15-minute mark, so we'll just throw that in. That's it, no big deal. All right, we are 26 seconds left in our boil. Next step will be to put it in an ice bath. I'm going to be paranoid, spray down my lid again. Use a fly or something, lay it on it. Remember, it's very important to sanitize your equipment. Now, we don't sanitize the kettle because the boil process does that. And don't worry about this spoon because I'm never going to use the spoon again in the rest of the boil. So this is going to go in the sink to get washed. Alright, that's the end of our boil. Burner off. Lid on. Let me show you how we're going to chill this. Alright, you see I put just a little bit of water in this side of the sink. We're not going to take our pot with the lid on it. You know, for a long time I did this without a lid. That's honestly, it's probably okay. But I also have a vent over the sink in this place. So the last time I did an ice bath, I was living somewhere totally different. But there's a vent over the sink here, and AC is running, so I don't want to blow dust or anything down into it. And got my 20 pound bag of ice. This sink is apparently a lot smaller than what I used to have, so we're going to just hand the ice in rather than dump it in. Okay, so I pretty much had to allow the water out that I had put in there ahead of time. It's been a while since I've done an ice bath, so I had to kind of figure out how to do it, especially with not a lot of room to work with. So I let most of the water out and just started by hand putting ice in there and tried to fill it up all the way to the top. As it starts to melt more, I'll put more in. Probably need to give it at least 20 minutes before you check the temp, and make sure you sanitize your thermometer, you know, at least the part that's going to touch the wort, because you don't want to introduce infection. So for sanitizing the fermenter, regardless of what kind of fermenter it is, whether it's a glass, carboy, or, you know, a monster like this, I just pour some sanitizer in, and then I'll put the lid on. And I'm going to take the lid with the bung here, because it makes it a little easier. Put the lid on. Put a bung in it, and then just shake it up till every surface has been touched by the star sand. It only needs about 30 seconds of contact time, you know, and you'll see it running down. That's fine. And then dump it all out after it's sat in there. I've already done this once. This is the second time I've done it, so we'll just... Okay. I am back. Let's take another temp reading. 71.8, 70.4, 70.3, 69, 68, 67. That's about perfect. The water we're going to top off with is 72. I checked that. So, I mean, we're going to end up right where we need to probably. Alright, as you can see, I got my funnel on the fermenter. The camera's probably not in the best place for me to do this, but that's alright. So I'm going to go grab the wort. And we're going to try to pour this fairly slowly. I'm hoping the hops have settled out, so that way I don't have to worry about them filling up the strainer too bad. So let's see what happens. Also, putting it in here, we're going to add oxygen by just pouring it. Oxygen is very important when you're brewing. This method will introduce enough. Plus, all the clean water we're going to add on top is going to help a lot too. See this? It's already clogged up. Oh, good grief. And we're not even a full gallon in yet, so this will be our struggle. I'm gonna sanitize a spoon or something to try to. When we go to put the water in, we'll take the strainer out and still use the funnel. That'll be all right. So we'll just... Okay, we're gonna try it with this strainer instead. See how that works, and hopefully I don't make a huge mess doing this. There we go. That's what we want to see. I think it's mostly just the proteins. Not as much, yeah, a lot of the hop stuff is still in the bottom of the pot. Let's see, this is where this should clog out. There we go. Yep, so that's the hot material there. And I'm not going to pour it all in there. That'll just be a waste of time. And so now we can just kind of... I know you won't be able to see this at all, but the 5 gallon line is right here. In the right light, I can see it. So I got to aim for that, and that's where we will stop. The foam can go above it, but we need the liquid line at it. All right, so I'm sanitizing the yeast in the star sand right now. You know, still in the package, obviously. Don't pour your yeast in the star sand. And my scissors are getting sanitized as well. All right, here we go. This is the Windsor yeast. Let's cut it open. Is that enough? There we go. And this fermenter doesn't really give you a choice of really spurting it out too much. So you're gonna have to just kind of put it in and hope for the best. Okay. Now I'll grab the lid here. And this on this fermenter, I got to like really turn this thing backwards before I put it on forward, just so it goes on straight. Also, this fermenter is kind of fun because it has a you have to buy a special tool to get it open again because it gets too tight. Once you get the, you do not regret purchasing that. Yeah, the tool to open it because I got it really stuck on there one time. That's what you gotta do to get it sealed. And we'll turn, push, and twist that, and that's it. So I'm not gonna do any gravity reading. I'm gonna go put it away. I gotta move the beer from the last video from the spot this one's gonna go into, and maybe keg that tonight or tomorrow or something. I don't know, but that's pretty much it. I'll fill up the airlock with star sand, like I said. Which I guess since this is the beginner video, I should show you that. So I just put star sand up to the lines, which it's over, well, it's not leveled out right now, but when it gets leveled out, it'll be in the right spot, and I'll just stick it in that hole in the top right there. So, and that'll keep any bad stuff from getting into the beer while it's fermenting. Okay guys, so I wanted to show you this before I put it away. And sorry my audio is a little different now, but this right here, you see this kind of stringy stuff? You wouldn't really have this without the Whirlflock. This is the Whirlflock pulling all the proteins down to the bottom. It's kind of cool. It looks disgusting, doesn't it? I think something's growing in there. But no, that'll be normal if you use Whirlflock and Irish Moss. If you don't, it won't look like that. So, cheers. All right, let's look at this. Pretty good fermentation. It was going a little faster this morning. Let's see if I can show what's going on down here.